So anyway, so we'll go on to Happy Valley from the East to West Conference. So we had the Dickens Heath Demons, 210 against the Quaybanks Lightning, 183. Gothenburg Angels, 226 against the Lemony Fresh, 187. Guildford Raptors, 154 against the Turbo Titans, 184. Darlington Dragons, 242 against 196 Norwich Mustard Men. Bonnyrigg Cheeseheads, back in the winning streak, 232-98 against 187 Richmond Reds. Cork Red Army, 167 against the 218 Yeovil Winners. So,
Johnny, this league's crazy. No one's in.
I know. This is just mental. It changes every week.
No one's in.
There's only one league more crazy than this, and that's Graham's league. But yeah, this is just like So yeah, because Darlington Dragons, they're 6-6. Richmond Red 6-6. So basically, you've got to say Lemony Fresh. They had a good run. They got one score correction which screwed them, but they're like I said, they're definitely out now, so they're gone. But yeah, that's.
But nobody's in. 2 weeks ago, not one team is guaranteed in the playoffs. So I mean, every game's a massive game in this one, right down to. I mean, the sixes can get in obviously because this sixth place is only 7-5, and indeed the fourth place is only 7-5.
Well, remember Quaybanks Lightning? They were on a 4-game win streak. They've lost, and then they've dropped 3 places down to 7th.
I did say there'll be a team that gets 8 wins and doesn't get in.
This could be the league.
This is the league that it's going to happen in. Is probably the only chance of the league. It's the only chance of it happening in. But yeah, I mean, so massive win for Bonnyrigg Cheeseheads to get out of that losing streak. You know.
Yeah.
At this stage of the season, and against Richmond Reds, it's brought them back down. 6-6. So they were going along just as well, 6-5 as well. So great win for Chris to get back to winning ways and break that, because it was about a 5-game losing streak, wasn't it?
It was something like 5 games. It was a bit crazy. Like you were getting a bit worried for the Cheeseheads after yourself and them. So.
Oh, definitely. And
they obviously heard you last week begging them to get their act together, and then obviously they've got their act together and got a win. So maybe you should coach them.
232 points. So
that's a big. Well, it does help with Josh Allen with nearly 52 points.
It does.
Outscoring Dak with 44 points.
And Allen has been pretty ropey the last few weeks, and it's no surprise that the bounce back coincides with his bounce back. You
look at Waddle, Samuel.
You get Debo back in there and back scoring again. Hubbard finally turned up for a week again.
And Okereke, he had a good game against New England.
So yeah, I mean, great win for Bonnyrigg Cheeseheads, but there's some massive wins in here. I mean, Dixon Heath Demons beating Quaybanks Lightning.
Yeah, that's a massive, because obviously that dropped Craig all the way down to 7th. At 7-5.
Yeah. And it's the Darlington Dragons winning 6-6 against the Norwich. They dragged the Norwich Mustard Men right into the battle. I mean, the 8-4s should get in. I mean, they can lose both games and still get in, but they could also not. But they could lose both and still get in. So they're obviously sitting in the box seats at the moment.
Yeah, well, obviously Turbo Titans, they're in a 3-game win streak, but they did beat what was that?
They beat the Guildford Raptors.
Raptors, so
yeah,
a win's a win.
A win's a win, yeah.
Darlington Dragons are on a 3-game win streak. So that's them up, because they were 3-6 at one point. So they're now up.
Yeah, so they're flying. Yeah, and that's a massive comeback. It'll be very, if they can they could keep winning and they'll get in though, which would be really, really harsh if you get on that kind of win streak and they'll get in. But they're playing the Turbinville Titans this week, the Darlington Dragons, so that's massive for both of them. And it's both on a 3-game win streak, so the one of their win streaks has got to go.
And obviously, Olabi is going to concussion, so he might not make it this week. So that's going to be a sore one.
Yeah,
you got Kieran Williams back, so that's always good. So
I mean, whoever got Kieran Williams back, every team that owns Kieran Williams is smiling happily this week.
Yes.
It looked like he hadn't missed a beat as well, as he plugged back in there and went absolutely crazy. So yeah, I can see big things for him in the run in, that he'll be very handy to have.
You got to think Gothenburg, if they can get the win against Dickens, you thought it's a in their place because they're playing against 7-5. Must have
Yeah,
meant
I mean
could
Gothenburg Angels should
potentially
be,
have the bye week depending on how their team turns up. And Court Red Army are playing Richmond Red, so you got to think they are. Big game down the bottom. You got Yeovil against Bonnyrigg, 8-4 against
massive.
7-5. I can't.
It's a much bigger game for Bonnyrigg than it is for Yeovil, this one. But the teams with the 8, Yeovil, Turbanville, and Gothenburg, they're all wanting to get that. They would get that win this week just to make sure they should get in anyway, but get the win this week. But all got tough games and all got games against teams that are chasing it. Do you know who's going to be the happiest of them all this week? Without a doubt.
Banks.
Well, you've got Norwich Mustard Men and you've got. And Banks Lightning, they're both playing teams that they should beat.
Yes.
And they're both sitting in that 7-5 mark. They've both just lost games, so they both need to bounce back. So the fact that they've got these games this week, they must be delighted with that, get themselves back in the winning ways.
And if the Darlington Dragons beat the Turbo Titans, I'll be a bit worried because I know they'll still be 8-4, but Darlington Dragons have scored more points. Quite back. Yeah, it's going to be very nervous last week. But
all the 7-5s could win this week. They're all playing different teams, so all the 7-5s can win this week, and we could be heading into a final week with 7 teams on 8 wins.
Well, in week 14 at the moment you've got Gothenburg Angels are 8-4 against Quebec Lightning, who potentially is going to be 8-5. So it could be Dickens Chief Demons are playing Lemony Fresh. You got to think they would go win. Norwich Mustard Men are playing the Turbo Titans, so that could potentially be 2 8-5 teams. The Dragons have basically got a bye week against the Guildford Raptors. So if they win this week, they've got a good chance to get to 8-6. Richmond Reds are playing the Yeovil Winners, and you've got the Bonnyrigg Cheeseheads. You've got to reckon if they win this week, they're going to be in because they're playing the Court Red Army last week. So
you just made up my mind in the game of the week this weekend. Here is definitely Darlington Dragons against Turbanville Titans for me because the Darlington Dragons on a 3-game win streak, and if they're
both on 3-game win streaks. So.
Yeah, they're both on it. But if they can get that win, put themselves on 7-6, push themselves. They've got an easy game in the final week, so that should be enough to get them into playoffs. And it would be some comeback from 3-6.
Definitely, yeah, that's definitely my game of the week as well.
But I mean, there's so many huge ones in here that we'll be talking about this one for the whole show next. That we can talk about this league for the whole show next week.
We'll just have a special one for this, and we'll have a special one for Graham's league because that's pretty close to.
And there's there will be, this league is not going to be sorted by the end of next week. There's with going into the final week, there will be a lot of decisions, places still to be played for.
It's going to be a nervous one. This one,
yeah,
and we're not going to have a clue until next week.
Yes, correct. That's going to run all the way to the last week. At least we'll know a couple of teams that will be in next week.
Well, depending on scores, yeah.
Well, we should.
But obviously, if Dickens beat Gothenburg, then that'll be both 8-5.
Yeah, I mean the 8s could all lose as well. That's the thing.
Yeah,
the 8s could all lose and the 7s could all win. We could potentially have 7 teams all on 8 wins going into the final week in this division.
That is just mental. And a team on 7-6.